I just heard, is it a girl or a boy?
It's a girl. Yeah, it's a
I
girl.
just heard her meowing in the back. I used to be a cat guy, right? I grew up with cats. And then I got a dog. I'm like, this dog's pretty cool.
Yeah, yo, I'm about there actually. I'm about I'm looking into puppies and breeds right now. So I might be you, bro.
The cats are cool. You can leave them alone for like a day and they'll be all
Right.
right. The dog, I mean, you got about
Look,
30,
look,
40 minutes.
there she is. Like she just can't,
Oh, let's see
she
it.
can't not leave. Yeah, this is
Let's
her
see.
right here.
Look, oh my, let me put that cat on a diet, man. What you doing?
Yeah, yeah. She's a little fatty, bro. She's a little spoiled cat right here. Look at her.
If y'all see Burton on here looking crazy with the cat, give him a thumbs up. Burton, you can either, man, I'm gonna call somebody. Give that cat a diet.
She loves her wet food, man. I can't say no to it. Look at that cute face, bro. I can't say no.
What in the well? That's a beautiful looking cat.
Thank you, my brother. Yeah, she saved me, as I say. You know, I saved her apparently, but no, at the end of the day, 2 years later, she definitely saved me.
Yeah, it's something you gotta have them.
Yeah.
What's going on, Round Up homies, my family? It is good to see you as we wind down my broadcast here in the Hampton City. Y'all guys know we'll be moving soon, so I'm just trying to get it all in before we get out of here. I am Chris Haskins. I'm going to be your host today, your co-pilot, as we hang out with Burton from PropStream. What's going on, B?
Nothing much, man. Another year and, another me, I guess, as they say. But no, what I really like about New Year's is, new ways to find different leads, new situations occur. So happy to be here, man.
That's right. Thank you for all you do to help us out in this business and just make sure that the information is getting out, because I remember years ago, you didn't need a software. Now it's like, you ain't nothing without data. I mean, you can't even operate your business without data. Is actually more important than the deals.
That's true. It's funny that you say that because, when like Facebook and all these free softwares started coming up, I was wondering, how are these guys making money? And it's the data. The data is the new gold, as they say. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you. Having data in your real estate business could definitely excel your business much faster or get you to that next level that you need to be at.
That's right. So today, guys, I wanted to show you exactly what we do as we push for 2023 to help you blow your business up. I'm going to show you exactly how we go out there, look for deals, moreover, scrub these lists, mortgage information, different filters. But I would prefer that it would come from the master at doing this, who actually is trained. He's worked with the company. So if you don't want to hear any of this mess, we got the link right there, right? You see my website. They built one out for me to show you what it is. But Burton's going to actually go over how does this online software work. Unfortunately, you're going to have, in this day and age, Round Up homies, you're going to have to spend some money on data, period. So just get over it. It took, I know I am you, because I was years ago, I was doing deals. Some stuff was online, realtor pull stuff. Nowadays, these people, other investors, we're going to run laps around you if you do not have an online software that you can go in and pull the information and get right on it right now, right? The speed of real estate investing is now, right? So, Burton, thank you so much, brother. I don't know, did I say well? I'm Chris Haskins. My mission is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing. So let's get right into it. Where you at, by the way, B?
I'm in Orange County, California. So right now the sun is finally back out, but we had some wet weather in the last few days, but we made it through, right?
For us that are in 40-degree weather, tell us how your weather is out there today. Just make us feel better.
It's right now hovering in the high 60s, low 70s. Sun is out. Obviously, I'm in Orange County, so we get that coastal breeze. Yeah, I'm pretty much bragging, but we pay the taxes for that weather. We call it the weather tax. And you guys have heard the stories, right? Rent is high here. So if you want to enjoy the weather permanently, get ready to pay up.
Okay. All right, you go ahead, Burton. I'm gonna follow your lead, and whenever you're ready, there's a present down there. You can do that too.
So obviously, I like to start off with just reminding everybody out there, both season and maybe this is the first year going to get into real estate or start your real estate journey. Let me just remind you what we do and how we can help you in your real estate business today. So what I like to start off with is essentially how you can utilize our data. And there are two important ways to do that. So is my screen up and
We'll
available?
bring it up now. You ready? Okay.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay.
So the first thing I like to expose everyone to is that one part of your business is that someone's eventually going to call you, or maybe you have a referral, or you saw a dilapidated property and wrote down that address. You can run into PropStream and type in that address, and we'll pull up that information for you. Another avenue is feel free to zoom in. See, I'm in Orange County, California right now, but let's say I had a referral to a property in Lexington, Kentucky today. The cool thing about PropStream is we've done the hard work of collecting property details, mortgage information, what's selling around the neighborhood, who's on the pre-foreclosure list, the lien list, who's bought houses in cash. And we've put that all in here for you on every single property. So again, if someone in Lexington wanted to sell their house, I can either type in their address, or I can zoom in like I'm doing right now and click on that property. And so by clicking on that property, as you can see, PropStream gives me that information. And what I'm referring to is just a brief description of the property. But here's the power. PropStream will allow you to go into the details of every single property. And we have over 154 million records that you can tap into. But here's what I mean when I say details. By going into the details, we're now equipping you with all the information you need to know, not only about the property, but the situations it might be going through, the financial information like taxes and whether it has a mortgage, or maybe the owner might have other properties. And finally, the local sales in the market. So let me just break it down really quick, what we're seeing. I randomly clicked on this property in Lexington. I pulled it up, and right off the bat, PropStream's giving me the address, an immediate satellite image of just that property, which I can click on and expand, zoom out. Because we're using Google Maps, feel free to even drop yourself down at street level and compliment the homeowner on the grass, or ask them what type of tree is out front. This could spark a different conversation that others haven't sparked yet. Not only that, but we'll give you property characteristics like the year built, for example. In the past, we had to ask the homeowner all this information as if they knew everything about their property, which I'm going to tell you right now, most of them do not.
Nope.
But today, I know Mr. Clinton here, or Fred here, has a property that was built nearly 70 years ago. So knowing that in advance, I can ask Fred here how many times he's done the roof in the past, or whether he's done the roof in the past. And that immediately lets me know the condition of the property. So while those without data are still asking Fred how many beds and bathrooms and the year the property was built, my question, Fred, when's the last time you've done your roof, your plumbing, your windows, your wall, your door, etc., etc.? We'll also give you a summary of the property owner, like whether the property is on market, whether it's in distress, meaning pre-foreclosure, whether you need to do a short sale. In this case, no. And the reason for that is this property has a substantial amount of equity here. So this is our dashboard. The moment you pull up any property in PropStream, we're going to give you a breakdown of that. Now, if you want more information about this property, feel free to scroll down just a little bit, and you'll have several tabs that you can click on, beginning with property details. So here we'll give you the owner's information, property characteristics, building size, land and location information, which includes zoning and school district, legal description, and tax information.
Can you
now, in some cases, yeah, I'd love to.
Touch?
Let me zoom in. There you go.
There you go.
So,
yeah, that's good.
Property details, characteristics, building size, land and location information, that legal description in case you're writing out a contract, and then tax assessor information. Now, not every property is going to be going through what I call a situation. And in this case, Fred is not going through a situation. But let me show you what happens when a property is going through a pre-foreclosure, or has a lien, or bought the property in cash. Take a look at property details and comparables in nearby listing, and what happens in between in just a few moments. When a property is going through a situation and we've been able to identify that, like for example, here in Lexington, Kentucky, let's say I clicked on a property that has a pre-foreclosure, or searched a property with a pre-foreclosure. When I go into that property's details, there is a new tab that appears. So Fred's property wasn't going through a lien, therefore there wasn't a lien tab in Fred's property. But Jeanette here, she has a few liens on the property. So now PropStream can show you the details on those liens. And we'll even put it here in the summary box for you. That way you're not caught off guard. Not only do we know we need to take care of the mortgage, but you do need to take care of any encumbrances that might be clouding the title. And that's what our objective is, to give you as much information so that when you're talking to Jeanette about purchasing her property as an investment property, you're not caught off guard with the liens that are clouding the title. You're aware that this property is, oh, in this case, it's sold. So she's already taken care of her situation. That's the power of our data. Yeah, it looks like she just showed this smug. So this is no longer a lead for anybody watching. But it had a lien, and so that's why we're showing it to you.
They picked it up already.
Yeah, exactly. So people move quick. But that's the cool thing about situational data, is we're going to let you know whether it's on market, off market, has a lien, a bankruptcy, it's in pre-foreclosure, etc. Now, the final things that we're going to show you in the property details are the financial information, like the taxes, mortgage and transaction history, like in this case, she financed the property and we have that information, and any other additional properties the homeowner might have. Now, Jeanette here doesn't have any additional property. She's an owner-occupied owner. So let me show you what happens when, let's say, a cash buyer who has multiple properties appears. When someone has multiple properties, PropStream will give you a linked properties tab. And this will show you all the properties that are under that individual or corporate's portfolio. So now, if they're not interested in selling this particular property, you have the information on all the other properties they might be willing to sell as well. So property details, situational data, financial information, tax, linked properties, and the mortgage information. And last but certainly not least, comparables. With PropStream, we're going to let you tap into county records and MLS records. Chris, I believe in our last video, we didn't have the MLS because there was some politics that happened on the back end. But for those that are watching today, the MLS is back in PropStream. We got it back in the summer of last year. What does that mean? That means if you're in a non-disclosure state, Texas, Utah, New Mexico, states where you don't get the values on the public record data, you can utilize our MLS data to get a value on a property. For those that are in a disclosure state, feel free to use them both. But here are the advantages of one or the other. With public records, you'll get the off-market transactions. So things that realtors don't see, like a cash transaction that might have happened off-market, or a family transfer, or a newly constructed property that's sold privately. MLS, however, will let you tap into those MLS sold properties. And so I hate to say it in this fashion, but you don't necessarily need to be a realtor to see what they're selling. With PropStream, you'll have access to their data as well as photos. So you can determine whether that price was an after repair value price or an as-is price, and then educate your homeowners. We'll also give you the ability to filter through your records as well if you need to. So this is one of the things that we do.
I want to stay here for a minute because I just remember coming up. I've been around the block for a few years, right? And I mean, dealing with comps was the biggest thing. You're nothing unless you know what you don't even know what to offer the seller until you know what stuff's selling for.
You nailed it right on the head. Funny enough, I've been around nearly a decade with PropStream now, or this will be my decade here with PropStream. And, the term comps I've heard since day one, and I finally came up with what comps really means at the end of the day. And if you guys want to remember it the way I remember it, this is how I remember it. So let's look at this letter C here. You know what that letter C stands for? Construction. And PropStream gives you that, right? Because when you're talking to the homeowner, we need to know the level of construction. Is it at 100%? Is it at 80%? What situations are going on with that property or the construction of that property? The letter O stands for obstacles. Is there a lien, bankruptcy, a pre-foreclosure that we need to know about, right? So not only do you need to know the construction, but the letter O next to it is the obstacles I need to know. The M stands for mortgage. Is there a mortgage on the property that you need to take care of? The letter P stands for price. What price is that house selling for? Essentially, what other houses are similar and what could that price be when you sell it? And then the letter S that completes comps is your strategy. Because once you know the construction, the obstacles, whether there's a mortgage or not, and what the price potentially could be, well, now you can apply the strategy that can help the homeowner. And that's the way I've always remembered comps. And the reason I want to teach you that is because if you're coming into this thinking, oh, I'm going to just call someone and they're going to call me back and I'm just going to offer a random price. That's not how it works. There is a conversation involved, and those are the elements that you should make sure you check off your list: construction, obstacles, mortgage, price, and then apply your strategy. So just wanted to throw that out there, Chris. I utilize that to help people understand why we're taking this avenue when it comes to property details.
Wait, which was not. I want to remind everybody, this wasn't around before several years back. You couldn't even, realtors could get some of it, but now everyone can get it. Obviously, it costs, but you're going to be able to pull your own comps, y'all. So that's just big. Every time I get an address, the first place I go is PropStream. Well, I know everybody does.
There you go. Nailed it right on the head. All right. So now that you know what we can do when someone calls you back, now I'm going to give you some cool tips on how to get someone to call you back. So another important thing about PropStream that people forget is you can utilize our data, manipulate it to generate some sellers and buyers. So how do we do this? Well, let's just use Lexington, for example. You can search by county, city, zip code, or you can use our draw search feature if there's like a certain area you prefer to be at. So pull up one of these following examples. Let's use Lexington. When you pull up your market, PropStream is going to give you everything that's on a list. Let me emphasize that. Everything that's on a list. We're not going to show you every property in the neighborhood because that would put dots all over your screen. Although we do have every property's details, for example, I can zoom in right now and I can click on this property and I have the details on that property, right? When you're searching a market, that's not what we're doing. Rather, we're going to show you everything that's on a what we call quick list choice. And here are just 8 of them at the top, just to give you a few examples. So in Lexington, I have over 100,000 records I can play with. But here's the breakdown. 640 of them are on the MLS, 49 are in pre-foreclosure. We have 1 for auction, 100 are in foreclosure. We have cash buyers or cash bought properties. We have 375 of them that have involuntary liens, 1,500 not answering their mail, and a ton of properties with a lot of equity. But for those that are watching or for those that are seasoned, let me give you a best practice. Go to our search filter. Make this a habit. And the reason I want you to make this a habit is for 2 reasons. One, there's actually 18 quick list options you can choose from. So those 8 boxes I showed you are just the first 8 here in the drop-down menu. Actually, 19 options. The first 8 are in this. The first 8 boxes are the first 8 in the drop-down menu, and then the remaining 11 are what you see here: free and clear, bankruptcies, divorces, delinquencies, failed listings, flippers, senior owners, vacant land, tired landlords, zombie properties, or pre-foreclosures that are not answering their mail anymore, and deceased owners. So just like you would normally go to the county's office, spend a day or 2 collecting records physically, you can bypass that waste of time. You can log into PropStream, click on your delinquencies, and see all the delinquent properties in the market. Or maybe you're looking for a senior owner, click on senior owners, and there are your senior owners in the market. The point here is we've done the hard work of collecting data for you. So pull up your market, go to the search filter, and the first thing I implore you to do is choose a list that resonates with you. Could be the high equity list. Now, after you pick a list, there are a few best practices I would love for you to follow. The first best practice I recommend that you do after picking a list is ensure that it's off market. Unless your objective is to buy it on market, then go for it. But obviously, you want to make sure you're talking direct to seller if that's what you're trying to complete or trying to achieve. Go to MLS status here, and where it says on market, go ahead and hit no. And this is a new feature. Never listed. Sometimes you might find someone who listed their property a year ago and they're stuck on that price that they wanted to list it for. And that could be hard for negotiating. But with this feature, it will allow PropStream to go through every property in your list. And if it was listed on the market in the last few years, we'll get it off your list. The reason for this is because we're trying to give you the opportunity to be the first person to speak to that homeowner about selling their property. So add that to your search is my point. Third is your equity and the value. So valuation and equity is one of the best practices when building a list. Because we collect properties as low as $10,000 and as high as millions of dollars, let us know what range of value you're looking for. So let's say I'm looking for properties valued between $100,000 to $500,000. This is where I'm going to put that information. $100,000 to $500,000, and then PropStream will go to work for you and only isolate properties that have an estimated value within that range. Mm-hmm. Don't forget the estimated equity. Now, depending on your strategy, that will dictate what type of equity you need on that property. For those that are wholesaling or fixing and flipping, I highly recommend that you apply a minimum amount of equity and maybe start at 50% or more. The way I like to think about it is the number you put in this first box is the amount of equity they've paid off. So if you're looking for someone who's paid off 70% of their mortgage, put 70% as the minimum. And this will let you find homeowners that have paid 70% of their mortgage or more. Fourth and final step is your property and owner characteristics. So we collect commercial, industrial, government properties. Please let us know what type of property you're trying to go after. And you can do that in our property characteristics by choosing what class, such as residential, and type, because residential could be a very big umbrella of types. You can really specify whether you're looking for duplexes, maybe you're looking for an apartment, a mobile home. We'll just keep it simple and do single family for now, but you get the idea. And last, but certainly not least, the ownership information. One of the best practices I'm going to give you right now is always make sure to apply years of ownership, unless you have a reason not to. The reason I want to encourage you to do that is PropStream collects records literally from weeks, just last week, and years ago. And by applying years of ownership, what that's going to allow us to do is get rid of anything recently sold, like this property that just got purchased in September of last year. Yeah, it has a lot of equity, maybe because they paid for it outright. Now, I'm not looking for a high equity property that was just bought recently, right? I'm looking for motivation. And so I might want to look for someone who has maybe 10 years of ownership or more with a lot of equity today. And the last thing I'm going to add to this is owner type. Remember, when you pull a list with PropStream, you're most likely going to market to that list, and that list will inevitably call you back, or the people on that list. Who do you want calling you back is going to be the type of owner you're marketing to. So if you want individuals calling you back, make sure that you're going after individuals. If you want corporate offices, go after corporate offices. These are the 4 best practices I'm going to give you. Pick a list, make sure it's off market, has the value and equity you need, and the property and owner type that you're looking for. The bonus that you can do is start stacking additional levels of motivation. For example, with this high equity list, right now I have 2,500, and that might be too much for me. So by going into the filter, I can add additional levels of motivation. Like I want an absentee owner. So I can hit no for owner occupied. And now you can see my list has dramatically changed. And now it's a much more approachable amount. And once I have that amount I'm looking for, I can check off my results and finally add it to a list. So when you're building a list with PropStream, don't overcomplicate it. Just pick your list, make sure it's off market, has the value and equity you need, the property and owner type you want, and any other level of motivation you'd like to apply just to increase that urgency to want to sell their property. Save that list and then name it whatever you'd like. And that's how you're going to be able to build your first list with PropStream. Chris, do you have any questions regarding that before I start showing them some really cool filters they should probably apply this year?
That's what I'm thinking on the filters. Let me reintroduce you. We've been here 24 minutes. People that just joined us, round up homies. I'm here with Burton. He works with PropStream. They're giving you a 7-day free trial. The link is right there, Chris Property Data, or you can get it in the video description below. If you go right below, there's a link right there. I'm showing you this is the exact software that I use every time I pull up a house. I don't care where it is. I go right here every time. You can do cash buyers, motivated sellers, mortgage information, skip tracing, all that craziness built into this one software. Okay, now it is going to cost you. However, if you're not willing to sacrifice the money, you might not be willing to actually be successful in this business. I know now for me, I have to have a software. You got to have it, man. The guys that are doing the most deals, they got a software. Burton, thank you so much again, my friends. Y'all get signed up and go to Chris Property Data. It's right there in the corner there. If I can, what is it, right? over there.
got
The
it.
filters. The filters is what I'm. Yeah, those things are they're just monsters.
Yeah, I mean, we have again 19 categories for you to go through. So I would recommend, if you're starting out with PropStream, start here. But here's what separates us from most data aggregators out there, and probably the reason why Stewart Title, one of the largest title companies in the nation, acquired us in 2021, which is the level of things that you can do with our data. For example, I'm going to give you a really big tip right here. In 2022, last year, interest rates increased 3 times. And as a matter of fact, the Feds are going to have a meeting at the end of this month, January, and they're anticipating, or everybody's anticipating, another spike in interest rates. Well, when that happens, oh, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, basically, I'm agreeing with you, man. The news. I don't like news, but they seem to always get this interest rate thing right.
Right, exactly. Now, when interest rates increase, it obviously impacts our community as a whole. It also is going to impact some homeowners. So one thing I want to teach everyone that you can do in PropStream is that you don't always have to choose a list. Today, I'm going to show you how you can build a situation that has a high propensity of showing up on a list, like a bankruptcy list or a pre-foreclosure list. And I'm going to do that by using our mortgage information section. So what do we know? We know that interest rates are increasing. Correct. When interest rates increase, it affects a certain type of mortgage, correct? And not just any mortgage, a certain interest rate type on that mortgage. We have that filter. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to go into Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm going to look for a certain interest rate type that's going to get impacted by interest rates increasing. And that one is adjustable rate mortgages. Wow. So immediately, just by clicking on that, I now see the 176 homeowners in Lexington or whatever market you're in that have that adjustable rate mortgage.
This is too deep.
To make matters a little bit worse for them, I can go in here and say, you know what? I know that adjustable rate mortgages are usually fixed for a few years, and the average is about 5 to 7 years, right?
Yeah.
So if you're on a fix, the news you're going to hear at the end of the month is not going to really impact you. But what if you have 7 years of ownership or more with that adjustable rate mortgage? Now we have a story in front of us, right? And so by simply doing that, these two filters, 7 years adjustable rate mortgage, I've identified the 26 homeowners that are going to have new mortgage payments this year. And I can get ahead of them before they appear on a pre-foreclosure list, before they appear, before they start missing that HOA payment and show up with a lien, or file for bankruptcy because the debt to income ratio is too high now, or maybe a divorce because the spouses can't agree on who's going to make the new monthly payments. This is why we excel at what we do, is because with our filtering system, we're not forcing you to pick a list. Rather, you can do that or do exactly what I did. Create a situation that has, again, a high propensity to go into a bankruptcy category or a pre-foreclosure category. So for those that are watching, you should be doing this filter, not just in Lexington, but Birmingham, Alabama, and finding those 870 with adjustable rate mortgages. Miami, Florida, New York, they're there. They need your help. 2023 is going to be a very tough year for anybody with fluctuating interest rates.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just going to put that out there.
Right, man. You know what? I was one in 05, 6, 7, so I know how it is.
Yep, absolutely. And again, guys, I mean, some rates are going to go from 2% to 5%, perhaps 6%.
Wow.
I mean, that's $500, $600 extra on that mortgage payment. So that could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. So one of the biggest advice I'm going to give those that are both new and seasoned is look into this particular situation right here.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it. That's cool, B. Thanks for sharing that one, brother.
Of course. Another one for those that are, a little bit more advanced, a little bit at that higher echelon, or want to work in that higher tier. Consider utilizing this feature that's been here for a while, but is going to be very important this year. Numbers of properties owned. Now, when interest rates go up, usually what ends up happening is sometimes the market values tend to drop a little bit, right? Because nobody wants to start buying anymore. Interest rates are too high, yada, yada, yada. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because what happens to those that currently have portfolios right now? What happens to the market value of that portfolio? it might take a drop.
Mhm.
So another very powerful search that a lot of lenders and hedge funds are looking at right now that you potentially can go into as well are individuals that have portfolios. So looking for an individual maybe with 10 to 20 properties and seeing if maybe they need to sell one or two to maintain their portfolio's value because they anticipate not moving right now on any of your properties could potentially see a 5 to 10% portfolio loss. So what does that mean again? That means that this property right here, this commercial property in Lawn Avenue owned by Milton, who owns 11 properties valued at $460,000 could see a 5%, 10% drop. So maybe we might want to talk to Mr. Milton here about selling one of these vacant lots or warehouses of his to make sure that he's maintaining profit instead of losing profit this year. So numbers of properties owned is going to be very big, not just for those that are individuals, but also consider maybe those that are in retirement as well. You know, they might not have kids, they might not have a plan B, but they're sitting on a lot of properties. And maybe it's time for them to consolidate and utilize that money to live the life they've always worked hard for. So don't forget senior owners that also have numbers of multiple properties. Those are going to be also very important this year.
Man, this is deep stuff. You always got something new, B. I didn't even think about this arms and multiple property owners. It's crazy.
Hey, let's mix them together, Chris. I love that you brought that up again. I mean, think of this one right here, senior owners with adjustable rates.
They're in trouble.
A lot of senior owners are on fixed income.
Yeah.
You know, they get a certain amount every month. Sometimes, you know, that's just enough to cover the car payment, the credit cards, the house payment. Interest rates go up if they have an adjustable rate. Well, guess what? That fixed income may not help them anymore. So once you learn how to build situations, you can utilize them with some of our categories and find the ones that really need your help in 2023. And I'm going to, again, emphasize interest rates are going to be a big deal this year. And so anybody, houses, they're going to be impacted. Anybody with that type of mortgage is going to be a very, very big target this year.
Yeah. B, I got a question. Can you do a question and keep going?
I'd love to, man. Keep going. Bring it up.
Jamal, can you show the breakdown? Oh, we did that. The breakdown.
Yeah.
We did that.
This is right here.
You did
loan types.
Else, we got it. Yeah, we did it already. Somebody wants to know triplet blessings. What's the best list, Burton, in your mind for creative finance deals? I know Jimmy asked too. Maybe take.
Oh, that's a great question.
Up too.
I mean, think like a homeowner, really. Obviously, you know, everybody has to make a mortgage payment, right? Yeah. So imagine making a mortgage payment for an extended amount of time and then looking at how much equity you have after that extended amount of time and being like, what the heck? There's no equity. So lean on that. So one thing I normally will teach people to do is we have this filter in our value and equity section called loan to value ratio. And what that allows you to do is say, okay, look, I'm looking for a person who still has 90% of a loan to the value of their property, right? Or 50% loan to value ratio. So lean on this. So for example, I want to go to Birmingham, Alabama, and I want to look for everyone that still has 90% loan to value ratio, meaning they still have 90% of the loan left to pay off, right? To the value of that property. But then I'm going to also add years of ownership. So this is what I want you to think of. Imagine being this homeowner, right? After 8 years of making mortgage payments. 8 years of mortgage payments, and then you look at your statements and market value has been going low, and you're still sitting at 90% loan to value ratio after 8 years of payments. Usually after 8 years of payments, you should see about a quarter of equity by now because the traditional mortgage is about 30 years, right? So the 15-year mark, that should be about 50% equity right now. 8 years, you should be at 0.25% of equity, not 90 to 90%. So just utilizing the loan to value ratio and the years of ownership and then looking for individuals who found themselves in that hardship, that's where you're going to find the most creative seller financing opportunity here, right? Because they want full value. And as a matter of fact, that's probably the only value that they could potentially sell for. But because the balance is still very, very high, creative options might be the only thing that they can work with.
That's a good
and then
one
the cherry on top is just tacking on maybe that little motivation, like, oh, you didn't pay your taxes recently. Here are the two with very high loan to value ratios that didn't pay their taxes. Or maybe they're not answering their mail anymore because they're just like, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to be paying for this property, and I'm not going to even answer my mail anymore. Let's just let it rot to hell at this point, right? But this is what I would recommend. Use that loan to value ratio, lean on the fact that they've been making payments and they just haven't been seeing the positive outcome of those payments. So
that's a good one. Thank you, Burton. I'm gonna give y'all one too. I know Burton's the master one we pull, and I love it. It always gets us a good response. Is multiple mortgages, because I've been there. Multiple
I love
mortgages.
that.
You got
Here
3.
you guys go. Multiple mortgage filters right here. Look for someone, as Chris says, 2, 3 mortgages. Tack that on with some years of ownership.
Oh my Lord!
You are fish in a barrel almost, right?
I'm like, I know how it feels to have,
There you guys go. So
there it is.
these are some really, really good ones. Another one I would also throw in there are failed listings. Obviously, a lot of homeowners that put their property on the market always want full price. And that could be I shot myself in the foot because I'm asking for full price in a market that doesn't, the full price isn't the demand right now. So lean on our failed listings. I would recommend using failed listings. Apply days on market. This will separate anybody that listed their property and changed their mind in a week. So maybe look for someone who's been on market for 5 months or more, 150 days or more that failed.
Gotcha.
And has again some loan to value features. You could apply that, or just in general, just leave it like that. Hey, I'm looking for a failed listing. It's been on market for several days. It's owned by an individual. They've lived there for 7 years, so some maybe attachment to it. But these are the ones that will give you a lot of, no, I'm not going to give you that 70% offer, but let's consider full price. But hey, this is an audience here that would be open to hearing potential options, because again, they want full price. Some of them may be okay with getting that full price a little bit later down the road versus immediately. And clearly they couldn't get it immediately if it failed on the market. So you might be the only option at that point.
That's a good one. We got another question from Wilson. Paris, hey, thank you for your love offering, my brother. He gave us a thing up here a minute ago. Where is it at? Darn. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much, brother Paris. Super sticker. What's the best way to find owners to mid to large apartment complexes?
And how to stack using. So the challenge with finding apartment complexes is labeling. The counties don't necessarily label them as we want them to be labeled. So here's what I would recommend. Go to your market, whatever that market may be, and go into our property characteristics. And you can do one of two things. One is choose residential and then select all the options that you see here. So apartment houses 5+. As you can see, they do not label it apartment houses 5+, so that didn't work. Choose the next one, apartment generic. Oh, okay. They're labeling it apartment generic. So make sure that you're selecting every possible option for that category. That's the first thing I want you to do. The second thing I want you to take a stab at is using our numbers of, let me remove this, our unit number range filter. So mid-large apartment complexes are going to have a certain amount of size. So what you want to do is probably do something like this. Hey, I'm looking for an apartment complex that has maybe 5 units or more, no more than 20 units, but the building size, right? The building size sits at 7,000 square footage or more minimum. So what that's going to allow you to do is separate any potential smaller units that you don't need, or the extremely large size. For the extremely large properties you don't want, put a cap, right? I'm looking for that 5 to 20 unit building that's between 7,000 to maybe 15,000 building size square footage. And that's all I want. And then you can add residential right on top of that. And that should help you identify all the properties that are within that category without having to select the specific property type. So residential, building size, and then the unit number range. And then we'll go through those criteria regardless of what they're labeled as. Here's a perfect example. Garden apartment, court apartment, like who would have known that that's what they were going to label that?
What
one knows.
What was that label right there, B?
Garden apartment, court apartment, 5+ units.
So every municipality, I'm presuming, is going to be different around coast to coast.
Absolutely. And that's why we did that feature right here, units of number range. So that way we didn't have to know to click that as an option. No one knows how the counties are labeling things. So what we decided to do was apply unit number range. But the challenge with that is you have to let us know what class. Otherwise, we could show you a commercial building with 5 to 20 units. So you don't want that. So when you're using the number range, the two best practices on top of that is make sure you choose the class, residential in this case, and then apply a building size. And to Paris's question, he wanted the mid to large. So we got rid of the smaller ones by putting a decent size building, and the extremely large ones by putting a max on that square footage.
Gotcha.
And then that gave us these results right here. And at that point, feel free to add anything else. Like maybe you're looking for the ones that are owned by individuals instead. Maybe you're looking for the ones that live out of state or out of county. You know, owning a commercial building or a multifamily property in a different state, different county could be burdensome. So any additional layers after that, we'll leave it up to you. But these are just a few I can think of.
That's some good stuff. I have to make sure I re-announce because people are coming and going. Burton is here sharing with us the exact software, the number one software that we use. The link is right there. You can go to Chris Property Data, or if you just go to the video description below, you can get a 7-day free trial, pull comps, motivated sellers, cash buyers, locate these people, skip tracing. And he just showed us a bunch of filters. So this video here is actually like a training. You have to rewind and see how he's pulling this stuff, Burton. Thank you so much, brother.
Of course. Thank you so much for having.
I got a question, and this one came in. Burton, now we've got this list. Are you going to keep going? I don't want to ask if you already have your
No, I'm done. That thought was completed. So please ask away. Let me know what I can do to help.
We got this list, right? We got the people we know. We pulled it. We've exported it, pulled it there. Now give us a snapshot of where we're at.
Yeah. So after you pull whatever that list may be, whether you've used one of our 19 options, or in this case, built all the residential multifamily properties in the market, the next step is really, again, to just check them all off and save them to a list. So this whole time, we're just manipulating data. It never counted against my 10,000 a month limit. But when I finally hit add to list, that's when it will go against me. So this is why it's very important to understand to filter your data. Otherwise, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up just saving a bunch of data and then filtering it later, which is counterintuitive. You want to make sure you're filtering first, and I give you guys some best practices. Narrow down your leads, right? You want to work smarter, not harder, and then save it to a list. And by doing that, we'll send your list over to My Properties. Now, at this point, if you like to work by knocking on doors, maybe you like to send your own postcards, or maybe you use marketing elsewhere, then you're done. Go and find your list in the marketing list section, like I've just did here with the multifamily properties we saved. Check them all off and hit the export button, and you are good to go. PropStream will now put that list and those addresses on an Excel sheet for you, and it's yours. So this Excel sheet's now outside of PropStream. You can utilize it as you see fit. So hand it to your virtual assistants, send it to your marketing team, do as you see fit. But we do have some additional options for you. We have skip tracing. So if you want to get cell phones, landlines, and emails, we can do that for you. It's 12 cents or 10 cents, depending on your package. But what we'll do is we'll capture, again, the landlines, the cell phones, and the emails. And what that's going to look like is this. Skip trace your list, and your list will look like, I do have one here I did yesterday in Houston. It'll look just like this. You'll get the mobile numbers, landlines, any other number we couldn't identify, whether this could be like a software phone number, and then the email. And we'll also show you who's on the do not call list as well, just so you know ahead of time.
Mhm.
So not only can you build a list, both cash buyers or motivated sellers, and not only can you analyze properties in our search page, but when you do start saving properties or the list that you're manipulating, make sure to skip trace them so we can give you cell phones and emails. Then you even have the option to run a campaign. We can set you up with a free website, and we can then send out postcards and emails out for you to that list. So to Chris's point earlier, I mean, you go back maybe 7-10 years, and this is unheard of. People would have thought you were crazy and probably try to lock you up. But today, this is a reality. People literally are logging into PropStream, building a list, skip tracing it, and 20 minutes later, they're speaking to a motivated seller on the phone.
Yeah, that is.
And that's what you guys can do today, right? So, Chris, I don't know what to say, man, but thank you for letting me show you just the power behind PropStream and just some of our marketing tools that are going to help anybody watching here get in front of these homeowners much faster versus what we were doing back in the days, going to the county for the whole day, bringing that paperwork back to the office, creating postcards or setting up a schedule or a map quest. Remember that? What the route's going to be for the day, and then taking it from there. I mean, today it's sit in the air conditioning room, build a list, get phone numbers, start closing deals nationwide, really. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all, get signed up. A 7-day free trial in the video description below. You got to have a software. If you don't, you're going to be running a race that you do not have the petrol, the gas to win. All right. You got to be able to pull this stuff quickly. I've never seen this stuff, Burton. You introduced me to some new stuff here. There's a link. If you go to chrispropertydata.com or just go to the video description right below, you can get signed up and start working right now. Pull the comps, know what your neighbor. Even if you just get it to know, I like to know my neighborhood. I'll be, what's going on in where I live. You never know what could be. I bought houses right down the street.
Yep, I'm a snooper. I do that a lot. So.
Yeah, Burton. You got time? How's your time? You got a few seconds? Or you going?
I have a few minutes. I have about 5 minutes.
She was in how accurate Infinite KB07 Israel.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Foreclosure information. The notice of list pendants was documented. She see 6 to 8 months prior.
Okay, perfect. And that is normal. So the reason we still have it in our system, even though it's been recorded 6 to 8 months prior, is for 3 reasons. So when it comes to pre-foreclosure, there is a document not too many people know about. And as a matter of fact, let me share it on my screen, Chris, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
But when you're in a market, and we'll use LA because I know they have this document, but when you're looking for a pre-foreclosure, there's 4 document types. There's a notice of default and a notice of less pendants. Now, the difference between the two is a default means the county decides the auction date, and a less pendants means a courthouse decides the auction date. But the similarities between the two is that an auction has not yet been assigned. When an auction date has been assigned, that default or less pendants becomes a new document. It's called a notice of trustee sale, and that's what an auction is. So if we look at this property here, that's in a notice of trustee sale, we can see the history and see if it was in a default prior, etc. But there's also a 4th document, and it's called a notice of rescission. What this means is that when someone who is in a pre-foreclosure finally pays their debt, the bank or the lender has to send out a notification called the rescission, and it lets everybody know, hey, this person's not in pre-foreclosure anymore. Like this property right here, right? Property is in a notice of rescission now, but you can see at one point in 2021, they fell into default, and then eventually they paid out of that default. And so the bank 6 months later said, okay, notice of rescission. Now, why is this? Why am I bringing this up to your question? Well, there's a reason why we're keeping it there is because we're waiting for that rescission. Like in this case, this recording happened in April, and it didn't take until 6 months later, just to your point, 6, 8 months, right, for a rescission to appear. Now, there are other logic we have in place to get rid of it sooner, like if a new deed were to appear. So if a notice of rescission doesn't appear, but we notice, hey, the name on the deed changed. It went from Burton to Chris. Well, that's new ownership. Clearly, that house is not in pre-foreclosure anymore because Chris might have bought it at the auction or might have bought it privately, like most of us are buying properties, right? So A property that's in pre-foreclosure could have a recording 6-8 months ago, and the reason it's still there is because no rescission document has appeared, and we do not see a new deed. Therefore, it's still up for grabs. You just got to call and see where they're at.
That's good stuff right there, Burton.
Yeah.
Good
I will
stuff.
say, if you're concerned of these older records in the filtering area, there is a recording date filter. So if you don't like seeing the ones 4 or 5 months ago, go to our search filter. Look for that default release, and you can apply that recording date. But again, I don't like saying this personally, because if I say, hey, you should only find the ones that are 30 days old only. Well, there are people that are calling the ones that are 6-7 months old and locking up deals. Why? Because there's a lot of people thinking I should only call the last 30-day ones. So
That's
don't like telling you what you should or shouldn't do, but I will tell you how you can avoid them if you want to avoid them. But avoiding them could mean you lose assignment fee. That's the reality of it.
Good deal. Good point. You're opening my mind up. I'm always a student.
Yeah.
Always a student.
As a matter of fact, with that, I have a buddy who in LA County only looks for rescissions. If I can share that screen one more time,
good.
The reason he looks for rescissions, and let's use this as an example right here, is history has a tendency to repeat itself. This homeowner, Jose, pre-foreclosure in 2009, right? We know why. Market happened. Yep. Then again in 2015, and it was almost close to being auctioned off, but maybe borrowed money or somehow paid it off. And then 5 years later, did it again. Now he paid it off. But we see here a 5-6 year trend. Maybe I should put him on my schedule to call right before the 5-year mark or the 4-year mark, right? See, so I have a buddy who does go after rescission because he notices history has a tendency to repeat itself, and that technically could become a lead for those that are watching here. So
that is true. I've noticed that too, because somebody gets a foreclosure, something happens, they get out of foreclosure.
Yeah,
they get in trouble again because the problem might not have actually been fixed. They might have just had a windfall.
And a lot of people forget, if they would have had the money before the pre-foreclosure, they would have never gotten the pre-foreclosure. So when they're in it, how did they pay off that debt all of a sudden? A lot of them are doing payday advance loans, borrowing money from friends. So it's really just putting a Band-Aid on a really big open wound. Yeah, it's eventually going to rip off. Yeah.
So round up, go right there to Chris Property Data. It's right above Burton's head right there. You can see it. You get signed up now. Don't think about it. Get the software. I know you always like, but do I need it? It's a free 7-day trial. Give it a shot. We have to have it. Like, this is a requirement for me. The link's in the video description, guys. Burton, it's been my hour, man. Thank you.
My brother, thank you so much. I'll be looking forward to coming back to give you guys some more tips and tricks. So if the audience needs me, just let me know. But thank you again, Chris.
Round up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the content. We'll see you on the next video. Share with anybody else that needs to understand how do you know all this stuff, Chris? How do you know how much the person, it's like, it's not magic. I just write a check and I got the software. All right, round up. See you soon. Peace.